What up, TikTok? Hey, hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hey, don't let anything that's negative in your life dictate the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Hey, we all go through some hard times. We all go through some emotional stressors, maybe at work, maybe at home, whatever it may be. Don't let that dictate who you are and how you react to the rest of the things that life throws at you. Does that make sense? Like if you're feeling pissed off and angry all morning or all day, you're going to take that energy and you're going to present it to everybody else that surrounds you, your loved ones, your soldiers, whoever it may be. You're going to use that negative energy and it's just going to make everything worse. Try to be positive. Pick something positive in life that's going really well. Use that positive energy and let that dictate the rest of your day. We can harp on the negatives. We can harp on the bad things that are going on in life. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help us move forward. Stay strong, keep pushing, drive on. Happy Friday.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you are doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger Instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. Ready to go.
So, I'm walking out of the gas station and my co-worker, who's an old MP, but we still claim him, and he has engaged the man in conversation. Not much for conversation with strangers, but he's got the tab. So, as I walk by, I say airborne, and the man responds with, and I quote, "Hoorah." So, after I instructed my co-worker to slash every single tire before he put the car in gear, I looked for the biggest rock. As I crow hop to throw it through his back window so he can stop posing as one of us, I actually wake up and realize that the man's ignorance had incapacitated me for a moment, and I was daydreaming. I mean, because in that moment you got two options. I chose the third option and said, "Incorrect. That's an incorrect response." And I kept walking. The man said nothing and he pulled away. So you tell me, what is it, a stolen valor thing? No Marine's gonna have an airborne tab, and no paratrooper's gonna say hidden hoorah. So you tell me, stolen valor?
Hey, y'all, going to work. I left you down on the refrigerator. I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Hey, go get dressed. Get ready for school.
You're doing great. I was tooling around, tooling along. Shit! Bad guys! Stop!
Let me break it down Barney style.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, Joe, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
Boom. What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Cheers to everybody. We got the whole VTT crew here. Well, 50% of us live in California. Welcome to episode 95 of the Trash Talk Hour. Shout out to our sponsors, 10th Mountain Whiskey. Go ahead and type in 10thwhiskey.com and then put in VTT and get you a special discount on some good bourbon. Special guest today is Norm Hooten. This is my safety. I don't know, maybe. We'll talk about that later. And today I'm joined by Monica, Nick, Buddy, Joe, and Cliff. All right. Like every other time, we get this dumpster fire started with a little conspiracy, okay? We're not going to talk about it too long because we got our special guest here today. But I want to talk about, has anybody seen the movie Men in Black? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody?
So
We talk about the fact that you don't know what 50% means.
yeah, 50%.
There's 3 of us here out of 4. That's 75%.
There's more. There's more. Look, there's 2, 4.
Buddy
6.
just said math.
Yeah, but good job, buddy.
Real
You want a
fast.
cookie?
Not a huge deal, guys.
You learned that. You learned that in the Q school.
Yeah. But anyway,
that percentage thing at the Q course. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good job, buddy. But anyway, can I finish now? Thank you.
No.
Yeah. So anyhow, if you guys have seen the movie Men in Black, so supposedly there is an actual group that exists, and they call themselves the Men in Black. Okay, these are not CIA guys. These are not Delta, but they don't go by names. They just go by numbers. And every time an incident happens with a UFO sighting or a crash site or whatever it may be, these Men in Black show up and they threaten people. Okay, so there's two cases that occurred in the last 70, 80 years. So in 1947, this guy named Harold Daw, he was out fishing and he sees this UFO in the sky. He was out there with his son, and this UFO supposedly crashed and debris killed his son. Okay, and law enforcement was called, the police was called, and he actually saved a piece of the debris and was going to go to the radio station with it and law enforcement. And these 2 men in suits showed up, no name tapes, nothing. And they basically threatened him and said that, you know, we are going to kill you if you go to the law enforcement with this, or if you go to public with this stuff. And then there was another case later on in 1997, Robert Richardson, he was driving down the road and supposedly collided with a UFO. Okay, I don't know. Like, how does a UFO?
It happens, bro.
Whatever, you know? And the same thing as well. He had some debris and he saved it and he started telling his buddies about it. And then 2 weeks later, these 2 gentlemen in suits showed up and they said, we will kill your wife if you talk about this, and we need the debris. You need to pass it on to us and like never mention us again. And then there's multiple cases, other UFO sightings. I think Cliff looked something up too on it.
1976, a really respected Dr. Hopkins saw a UFO up in Norway, Maine, and was visited by 2 guys, Men in Black. And they were showing them, say, hey, look at this. And they had a quarter in their hand. They made it disappear, and it freaked the doctor out so bad that after they left, his family came home and he was sitting on the couch with a gun, just scared completely shitless from it.
So who knows?
True.
You know, real, not real. Is it
Was
just
it Johnny
CIA?
Hopkins?
You know, they're not
I
identifying
went to school with him
themselves
in
as
Sloan
CIA.
Kettering.
Do they even exist? Are they real? Like, who knows? But I'm going to go around the panel here and we're going to get everybody's take on this. Is it real? Is it not? And Monica, you're first in the shoot. What is your take? Men in Black, CIA?
All right.
What is it?
I don't know. So I'm hearkening back to the UFO stuff.
What's harkening?
It would behoove you to pay attention.
Someone needs to
Yes.
mute.
Yeah.
Someone needs to mute.
Who's muted? Oh, sure. We've all worked for the government. We know that crazy stuff goes on behind the scenes and crazy things happen without it making the media. I spent 2 years in South Korea in the Signal Corps, and a lot of stuff happened that the public didn't know anything
Was that during the
about.
Gulf of Tonkin?
Yeah.
No. Oh.
Well, there was some creepy stuff. Yeah, I'm
A
that
long
old.
time
Dude.
ago.
I served in the fucking Korean War. Yes.
Vietnam
No.
War.
Stop.
Yeah.
So yes,
I'm positive that I don't know if it's all men in suits and then clandestine stuff, but I'm sure that there's something to it.
so
Definitely.
UFOs, you believe in that. You do believe
Yeah.
that there's something like that going on, supernatural, whatever it may be, and then that these people might be showing up when these instances
Sure.
occur. Okay. All right. So good to go. Thank you, Monica. Hooten, what's your thought on this? I mean, you might blow us all away right now with your response. So I'm curious to hear this one.
Yeah, I kind of call bullshit on that one. I would think if they're gonna
All right, you're done.
they're gonna walk in there and say, hey, if you tell anybody we're gonna kill you, they probably just would have just done the job right there. So and not put the threat off. So yeah, I would kind of be skeptical of that one.
Okay, fair enough. Good answer, buddy. What's your take?
I mean, I'm going to go with Hoot on this one.
Okay, the special forces.
First
guys,
of all,
yeah.
if there was like a Men in Black people, then nobody would know about the story anyway, and they would probably not only say that we'll kill you, if like they would definitely say if you say anything, we're going to kill everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But generally, the government doesn't They don't tell you when they're gonna kill you. Like I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
just
they
do
didn't,
it.
tell-
Yeah.
they didn't tell
Exactly.
Jeffrey Epstein, hey, if you say anything, we're gonna kill you. They just, well, he hung himself, so they
I
didn't
thought
have
he
to
was
worry about it,
suicide.
I guess. But you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
that
Some
the government
Arkansas.
doesn't give you a whole lot of warning before they do what they're gonna do when they do what they're gonna do. So nah, I don't think so.
You don't think like scare tactics though? Maybe like when
No.
no.
Oh, when's the last time the IRS came in and said, "Hey, if you don't pay us, we're gonna"? They just come and say, "Hey, look, you're going to jail."
Yeah, your house has been leaned on right now.
Hey,
Give us some money.
You know,
Yeah.
hey, you know that house you lived in?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you still have a house.
Yeah,
Hey, you're in the back. Put your hand.
That's
down.
ours now.
It's
Okay.
ours now. We actually own that. Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. All right, Nick, what's your take on it, brother?
Oh, I get to go before Joe. Nice. I was expecting Joe to
Dave's
go.
got me on a pay no mind list too.
But I got something to go against what Buddy said, because he said that the government was going to do it, and what Hoot said is that they just kill you, but they have to leave one of you alive, otherwise there's no more threat. Here, hold on a second. There's a guy throwing a. Hey Joe, you go. I'll go next.
That's a lot of people alive.
All right.
There's
Hey,
all
look,
those
no,
people
I
who say that it
agree with
happened.
Hoop, but it's like there's like what Buddy said. There's no kind of, almost covert ops. Like if they're going in that hard where they're gonna take lives, no one's ever going to know what happened.
That's never been said to Buddy. Buddy has never went in hard enough.
They're not going to leave people behind to tell all your friends about this. I highly doubt it. I think they're going to come in like a thief in the night, and it'll be an unsolved murder forever if it was that serious.
That was religious.
And there was
That's
that
what
much
I was
money
thinking
involved
too.
in it.
Like they exist.
I also
I don't believe
love
it's
the fact
supernatural either.
Dave said that there were men in black suits that didn't even have name tags on. Like who wears a name tag on their
Well,
black?
yeah,
suit?
I should have worded
Like,
it,
is the
but
bellhop that
hey,
showed
brother.
up to kill you? Like,
Yeah, brother, I
what the
should have
fuck is
worded it
going on?
different. I should have worded it different. They just don't identify with a name. So when they show their badge or whatever, whoever the fuck they are, like they go by numbers.
Dave,
You know what?
Is
The guy that
rumor.
sold me my
Right,
car,
no,
he
hey,
wasn't
Men
on
in
the
Black
name
went by
tag either,
alphabet,
and
so
I
it
thought
was
he was
Jay.
suspect.
Look,
Right?
I researched
like-
these, conspiracies 30 minutes prior to the podcast to get things going. So like,
Hey, we're
Hey, no,
experts.
hey, I'll get back to what I was saying.
I'm a
is,
fucking
you
expert
got,
in it.
you got General Pershing, right, in the Philippines. Okay,
Yeah.
he lined up 100, terrorists at the time. They weren't called terrorists; that they were just Muslims. And he shot 99 of them.
Yep.
And he let one go. Right, to go, hey, this is who we are.
Send a
Right,
message
so
out.
so I could see the Men in Black once in a while leaving somebody around to just be like, when they do show up, you better listen to them. So but I'm gonna go with that they don't exist because the government can't do anything right. So
there's some things the government does right.
no, there isn't. There's stuff that civilians hired by the government do right. Like if it was up to the people actually in the government to do it, not happening. That's just my take, buddy. Just my take. All right, but hey, this is what it is. So that's fine. So I think they do exist, but
They're probably just CIA or whatever.
it's like the FBI didn't used to have guns, right? And they had to have a federal, they had to change the Constitution for them to carry weapons, and so I think they exist, but and again, I go with Hooten, buddy, that they will just kill you, because why would they threaten you like that? They just kill you, just like the IRS doesn't show up to your house; they just take the money out of your bank account, and you're like shit, So it's like, but they do got to leave somebody alive. So that builds the conspiracy. That I do think there are a few people that have to spread the scare. They have to, otherwise, what good is it?
Right.
So,
That's good. That's good. That's a good take from everybody, and I like it. So yeah, again,
so
who
we're
knows?
not going to talk about the UFO we saw last night, then, right?
That might have been the bourbon talking. I don't know.
No, that was Buddy naked.
It's also there could also be a conspiracy that if you really wanted a piece of a UFO, and all you had to do was get yourself a black suit and some sunglasses to show up and say, we're from the government and we don't have any identification, give us that piece of UFO. Very cheap disguise to get. Like, wait, hold on. I'm not
Can't
part of the
believe they
government.
fell for that.
Yep.
I am now part of the government. Give me your
Give me what I need. Yeah.
Don't look into this laser pointer.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, buddy, I think it's over to you for your honesty cap. And then,
Yeah. So we talk about that. Mental health and is a big part of what we do. The suicide rate for veterans, we've all seen it, and it's unacceptable. It's high. Whatever. My honesty cap is that especially in traveling around with the USF, like Nick was talking about earlier on the Principles of Patrolling show, I've seen quite a bit. We've traveled around the states.
Fifth
And,
principle.
it's super apparent that we are all a sum of our parts, right? Like we're all a community, and we're no stronger than the community that we're a part of, whether it's as Americans or veterans or whatever. And a lot of us are searching, kind of lost after we get out of the military and looking for something to make ourselves happy. And a lot of us go into chasing a dollar or chasing somebody else's happiness in order to find our own happiness. And my honesty cap is that if you have a little bit of patience, and if you find happiness when you start giving of yourself to other people, and that's where you typically find your happy place, something that you're passionate with, and you share it with other people. So people that are having issues, if you calm down and you're a little bit patient, and you make a couple phone calls to your buddies and talk about things that you're passionate about, and you start doing that, chasing that passion, and then sharing it with other people, you're going to find a lot more happiness than you're going to find chasing a dollar and trying to be a billionaire just because you want to be a billionaire, as opposed to you're chasing excellence in what you're doing and the passion that you have, and everything else will kind of follow along with it. So that's my honesty.
That's
cap
good.
today. There we go.
I mean, everything put together, it's the energy you put out is the energy you're going to get back.
Is that a haiku?
That's pretty simple.
Don't think it's a haiku. I think that's
a haiku.
Yeah, that was my AAR for that.
I don't know what
that was good.
haiku means. I'm actually only through sophomore literature, so I think that's in senior year is when we learn about haikus and and things like that.
Yeah,
So
I think
Buddy, you got a high school waiver?
oh, high school waiver. I had a middle school waiver. Guys, they had to go talk to my 6th grade teacher, and she was not all that.
Oh,
I had to
for
bribe her.
character reference, your 6th grade teacher?
Yeah. Well, not really a character
Needs to
but
be a
like-
little bit of a window licker.
Yeah.
It was the list of waivers that I needed to get in just on my mental acumen was large.
It's why it took him 16 years to go special forces.
Oh my
so
God. You
he
have a
had to-
waiver badge, right?
Buddy was a staff sergeant when like Nick and I and all of us joined.
I was a staff sergeant in 1985.
Yeah.
85?
Oh yeah, 85. Back when I was
From Greenbow, Alabama.
If you talk to Nick, I was a staff sergeant in 1985.
Yeah, I wasn't even born yet. I think he was a colonel, and then he got knocked down.
True.
He got knocked down to E4, from colonel to E4.
Colonel
Yeah.
I mean,
E4.
I think Nick has the honors.
It
I
was
read
the
script
Iran
today.
Contra scandal
I
that
do have
knocked
the
Buddy
honor.
down.
I do have the
the
honors of introducing our guest. But again, those of you watching, again, Buddy, usually on the screen is the most qualified soldier that we have on the show because he's been in for 65 years. So like I said, he's Halo qualified. He's a Halo master. He's a static line master. He's a scuba master. He's a Jedi master. But,
Ninja.
Ninja. But I think we found a better master who was in 5th group before him, and he had to call Daddy. So that's our guest. All right, we have a phenomenal guest on the show who I got introduced to through a retired colonel buddy of mine who said, "Hey, why don't you get Hooten on the show? He has a whiskey." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I reached out and talked to Courtney, and he owns Hooten Young, right, distillery, whiskey, and they also have cigars called the Ma Deuce. Okay, so, and they have more. They have plenty of stuff. So go on Hooten Young, check them out. We'll put it in the thread for you. But if you go on right now during the show and put in the code VTT15, all right, that's all lowercase VTT15, you'll get yourself a discount. Now, a lot of people are, they think about the movie when Hoot comes on anything probably, and they want to talk about like Black Hawk Down and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm really intrigued about is the fact that he spent some time on Fort Bragg. Right, so the center of the universe, and he knows that the 82nd Airborne is the best unit ever. So he came on to talk about why he wished he would have been in the 82nd longer, right, and why he shouldn't have went other places because the deuce is where he belonged. Hey, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. Talk about what you got going on with Hooten Young and all this great stuff, and let's shoot the shit a little bit.
Hey guys, cheers! It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Looks like it's going to be a fun hour for sure. But I got a lot of respect for the Deuce. I got so much respect for it. I got one of my sons is a fire support officer in the 82nd. He's over in Poland right now. Hopefully get him home soon. But yeah, the Deuce is a great outfit. In a lot of ways, right? They've got a lot of records. It's not all of them good. So they probably spent more time in the brig at Fort Bragg and the surrounding areas than most other units as well. So, but they're a great outfit. But yeah, I spent about 22 years, 20 minutes at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with the exception of about a year where I was a DLI. I spent a little over a year out at Monterey, California. But my whole career was spent at Fort Bragg. Started out in 5th Group as an SF baby right down there on Sante Road, which I don't even know if that's a road on Fort Bragg anymore, but that was before 5th Group went to Fort Campbell. But a lot of history there, a lot of great memories from Fort Bragg. It is the center of the Army universe for sure. But I got out, went to pharmacy school right after about August of 2001. So I went to pharmacy school, started at Campbell University after many years of night school at Campbell University, Fort Bragg campus. And a month later, I got recalled back to the Army on 9/11. So I had to postpone that for about 10 years or so, but went back, after 9/11 and did some work with the Air Marshals and some other stuff. But over the years, probably the one consistent thing that spans every phase and age and genre of my life was whiskey. It started when I was about 12, and it continues to this day. And I'm proud to say I'm probably the first guy in my family, male child, not to go to jail for making it. Now I'm doing the same thing now, but doing it legally. So a lot of fun. But looking forward to spending about an hour with you guys talking about this afternoon.
All right, awesome. So with like you said, you mentioned making it legally the first time in your family. Where originally are you from?
So I'm originally from Texas, but my family migrated to Texas in the 1840s from Tennessee. So the Appalachian.
Oh, so you're a mountain boy.
Yeah, originally my family was. Then we moved to the hill country of Texas, which was the next best thing. So
Texas is the best country in the world.
Yeah. So love it, but living in Georgia now, South Georgia.
So your bourbon recipes come from the woods there in Appalachians, right?
Yeah, that's what we tell everybody. No, we actually source our bourbons. We use MGP, Midwestern Grain Products, which is a big distillery, one of the best distilleries you can source your product from, especially if you're using, light whiskey or rye whiskey, stuff like that. But not too many people that can do it better. I certainly couldn't do it better myself if I built my own distillery. So we source it out of there. But they do a great job. We tell them what we want, and they are perfect at giving it to us. So.
All right. So was I reading that right on the website that you were looking to pair a good cigar with your whiskey, and that's what got you into making cigars?
Well, they kind of both came together. So I have my partner, so the Young of Hooten Young, really good friend of mine. He's become more than a friend. He's a brother now. we smoked a lot of cigars down there. And we had a friend from Cuba who would make those cigars for us. Made them in America and made them, not Cuban cigars, but a Cuban friend. And so we smoked a lot of them. And on the 25th anniversary of Gothic Serpent, which was the anniversary for Somalia, we made 300 of our cigars, and we weren't selling them at the time. We were just smoking the hell out of them. And we sent them up to Fort Bragg to our colleagues up there to celebrate the anniversary of Somalia. And within about a week, we had over 1,000 orders for boxes. So we decided to start making them and giving back a portion of what we made to veterans causes and supporting veterans charities. And we kicked off the cigar brand first. And then we found ourselves, every time we light a cigar, we'd have to have a whiskey with it. So we said, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well make our own. So we went in with another good friend of ours named George Miliotis, who's a world-renowned master som. And when I think of a master som, I think of wine. But really, when you're talking about a master som, you're talking about wine, whiskey, food, anything that you can eat or imbibe. They're experts in. And not only is he an expert in blending and tasting, he's well networked around the world in the wine and spirits industry. So he put us in touch with the right people to find the product that we were looking for. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think the cigars came slightly before the whiskey, but about the same time, because you can't do one without the other, really.
Wow. So I want to talk about a little bit, and if you can, if not, that's fine. Obviously the chat's blowing up because they're like, oh, is this the guy from, Black Hawk Down, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to go into that too much, but it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in regards to what happened and what transpired. And a lot of people in the chat are just like curious if maybe you could elaborate a little bit. If you don't want to talk about it, we can skip right over, but just kind of your experiences over there. We've had a lot of people on here, special forces guys and people who've been through some serious combat, and they share some of their stories, so if you would do that for the audience, that'd be great. If not, we can skip right over it.
I'll be glad to do it. I think that's a 100-year-old mission now. I don't think there's anything in there that's that everybody doesn't know already, but yeah, I was very proud to have been a part of that, primarily because of the people that I served with, like all of us, right? Yeah. As time passes, you forget the things that happen, but you never forget the people that they happened with. So one of the greatest honors of my life was serving on Task Force Ranger with guys from my unit, but also guys from the Ranger Battalion as well. Ironically, I went to Ranger School very late in my career, kind of on a bet. So I was on the range shooting one day, and I had a buddy of mine that had recently, come in from the Rangers, and he was like, "Oh, if I outshoot you today, you're gonna have to go to Ranger School." And I said, "All right, you got a deal." And I think that's the only time in his life he ever outshot me. But anyway, not long after that, I was kicking it off down at Fort Benning in Ranger School. But the cool thing about that was that I was a sergeant first class when I went. I got hooked up with, of course, a bunch of bat boys who were, Ranger privates and junior NCOs. Some of the most squared away guys I ever served with, and as young guys, and we became lifelong friends. And I remember standing on our final raid. So I was the PL for the final raid on Santa Rosa Island. Just as you're getting ready to finish up the Ranger School, and we were standing there in our leaders huddle on our leaders recon, talking about how we were going to take down Santa Rosa Island, and didn't give much thought at the time. But not long after that, about a year later, we're back in Somalia, and I'm standing there with a lot of the same guys in that were in that huddle. We're on the battlefield together. So guys like Dominic Pilla, John Bellman, Pendleton, a bunch of guys that went to Ranger School with me that we became lifelong friends with, did our final exercise in Ranger School together. And the next time we saw each other, we were on the streets of Somalia. So building relationships with each other, really, really important. You never know when it's going to pay off. It makes things easier in the hard times, right?
It does.
Sure. I was gonna. Dave got beat me to it, but I was gonna talk about like why Monica's here, why Cliff's here, and then we got Vito is here, and then another buddy from Bravo Company. You know, so it's like we talk a lot of trash to each other, and we love it. And it helps us. The reason why we started Veteran Trash Talk. So those of you watching for the first time, you know, we started this for our own mental health, and it turned out to be, you know, a phenomenal thing. And now our family's grown, and this is one of the first times that we've all been in kind of in the same place, you know, and able to do this after starting it a year and a half ago. But I noticed when you said when we celebrate Somalia, you know, and we try to talk to the veteran community about this, about celebrating those that, you know, it could have been the worst time of your life, could have been the best time of your life, but we celebrate it. You know, we celebrate those things. And so you already answered a lot of what I was going to ask with that, but what I would follow up that with is like what about that environment and making those connections kind of drove you to what you're doing now, if it did at all? That's what I was going to ask you. Like, did it drive you to do what you're doing, or was it just you know, a whim?
Yeah, well, I do a couple of things now. So you know, when you get old, you'll find out that you'll look back over your life, whether you like it or not, you end up saying, hey, I did a lot of things. And currently I'm a practicing pharmacist for the VA, and my experiences in the military absolutely had everything to do with me going to pharmacy school at 52 years old, and then doing 2 residencies on top of it, and finally finishing up that skull dragon, academic skull dragon that I went through at the age of you know, 58, you know. So most of these guys are retiring from pharmacy by the time, you know, and I'm just getting started in it. So but what really triggered that was I went, you know, when I retired, I went the first time to pharmacy school, and I was thinking, you know, I'd go open up a small pharmacy somewhere in the country with my wife. And then I got kind of sucked into that GWAT thing that grabbed all of us, and had forgotten about it, and never intended to go back, because as time goes on, you're thinking, man, you know, I don't really need to. I'm financially stable and everything's going well in my life. But what triggered me to go back was I was over in Jordan working on a contract for the U.S. government over there in a place called the King Abdullah Special Operations Training Center, otherwise known as CASODIC. Some of you guys may have heard about it. Some of you guys may have trained there or gone through there on your way over to Iraq.
Some of us have.
Yeah, but it was a huge
Nick,
facility.
You been to Kasadic? No? Okay, not a cool too. Not a big deal.
Sephardic school?
Samara, yeah, buddy spent some time at Spiker where they had salsa.
Yeah, buddy was doing
Burger
salsa
King
night
and
while
stuff,
we were
you know?
killing everybody in Samara. That's
Yeah.
I remember when my last it was in
hey, they have
They had buses. You could
this will blow
buses.
your mind. They had bus routes at the base he was at.
Yeah.
Where like if you wanted to go to salsa night, you had to get on the green bus. If you wanted to go to the defect that had surfing surf, you had to get on the blue line. Right, like there were these lines you had to go to, and this whole time, like we're begging for a hot pocket.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's like, can I get a hot pocket or something?
We're burning our own shit out there, you know.
It's like, no, you actually got to go catch fish out of the tiger's line.
Like wild animals.
Buddy, didn't you show me? Didn't you show me a token?
Else in the army, you had to do everybody.
Well, that's why you had to go validate yourself and do all these schools, because you knew other guys were fighting.
I'm sorry,
right? So like,
violin playing in the background right now. I didn't.
Buddy, nobody's saying you didn't become cool afterwards.
Yeah, you became really cool afterwards.
You did.
But there
you did.
at deployment,
You know,
that was nothing.
That's so cool.
I thought it was so cool last night, buddy, when you pulled out of your pocket that token, that hop on, hop off bus from Somalia token. I thought that, okay, now you're the coolest guy I've ever met.
That's a fact. That comes from a woman during Women's what is this, Women's Veterans Day month or whatever. Like we don't know. Like we get in trouble at Veteran Trash Talk because we don't know what month we're celebrating.
Yeah.
And
I personally, as the only woman on today's panel, do not like differentiating Veterans Days, because we fought hard enough to be part of the group.
you are a veteran.
Whatever the 12th of this month came along and someone says Happy Women's Veterans Day,
Yeah.
it pisses me off, because
So
that's
correct.
separate.
Do I gotta send you flyers, like flowers
Yeah.
every time on Women's Veterans Day, like or like maybe a Madu?
We don't call you a
Hey.
female veteran. We just call you a veteran.
Hey,
Exactly.
send a
Thank you very
Madu
much.
cigar to every woman you know on Female Veterans Day and say, here you
So-
go. So
Anyway,
yeah.
so back to the bourbon and stuff and the whiskey and all that. Can we get that? Can anybody just, for our viewers right now, can they walk into a store and get it, or have to go to a website to purchase it, or how to, are you selling for AFEs? Like, where is it available?
Yeah, it depends on the state you're in, but we're in 25 states.
Oh,
We're on all the big
nice.
ones. We're in California, Florida, Texas, and all the really big states. And if you can't get it physically at like your local liquor store, you can purchase it online through the website. We have a third-party sourcing company that sources it called Speakeasy, and they'll send it virtually, I think, just about anywhere in the country. Yes, it's available online, and in most states, or half the states, it's available in the liquor stores. Certainly in Texas and Florida and California, in the big states, we're there.
Yeah, Nick was gonna make fun of me because I got the bottle. I don't know, probably about 2 months ago, because we were gonna have you on at some point, and it didn't work out or whatever. And I was gonna try a little bit. I was at a party with some buddies, and I was gonna try a little bit, and then I ended up finishing the whole bottle in one night.
Awesome.
It was 4 of us, and it was. I felt really great afterwards. But I mean, it was some amazing stuff. And Cliff's been drinking it here.
Yeah, my
just some
glass is
really
empty.
good stuff. Really good stuff. I liked it a lot.
That happens.
And I will tell you, I'm not a bourbon drinker. I drink Scotch, 12 years and older, and I will tell you that this is
So
probably
pretty much he's like,
bourbon
yeah, you're
I've drank.
smaller than me. You're lower. Like, this is me, this is you, but I tried it. Like, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's we're proud of it, and it will sneak up on you. You'll go through a bottle pretty quick, but
Oh yeah, and then an hour later, you're feeling it.
oh yeah, yep. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it.
So you were in Casodic, where we were before we went off track. You were in Casodic. I'm still trying to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, no, I was.
Oh, really? Because you stopped the story.
I understand that I fucked that up, guys. I got it. That's why I'm
Everybody
back.
else could have talked.
I'm trying to get back to the story.
Should have learned that in Q school.
Yeah, no, I was Casodic over there, Jordan, and all of the major contracting companies came through there with to do their workups prior to going in to Iraq. So the usual suspects of Blackwater, Triple Canopy, Tier 1 Group, DynCorp, all came through there to do their workups, ran their third country nationals through there for training, and it really dawned on me at the time that I had a bunch of colleagues, because all of us, whether we personally know each other or not, we all come from the same family. If you're talking about the military, so I noticed that a lot of our brothers and sisters over there had substance abuse issues and serious ones. So we had a couple of fatalities from overdose. We had some suicides and stuff like that, and not at Casodic, but basically this was the word in the community at the time, and it was just devastating. And then I had a very, very close friend of mine that ended up losing his wife to an overdose, and then he was also addicted to prescription painkillers, and then not long after that ended up committing suicide. So I felt compelled to go back and at least do something about it, because I'm a little bit superstitious, and I didn't want to find myself on the other side of the river having to answer for why I just chose to do nothing when my friends really needed me. So I went back, made the decision to go to pharmacy school at 52 years of age, and it was the scariest mission I think I've ever been on, because you step back in there and everybody that you're sitting there with thinks you're the dean of pharmacy school. They don't realize that you're sitting there with them as a student. So it was a big step out of my comfort zone. I went from making contractor money to being unemployed while I was in pharmacy school. Big step, but anyway, I felt like it needed to be done. I did it. Committed to working with veterans in the VA. Did an internship and 2 residencies with them, and then started out, cut my teeth as a pharmacist on the inpatient mental health unit in Orlando. And it was then I realized that the magnitude of the problem, because really our inpatient mental health unit was just full of soldiers, of servicemen and women were admitted to the emergency room, overdosing on heroin and prescription painkillers and everything else. So it drove me towards what I'm doing now as a pharmacist. The whiskey and cigar thing has always been kind of part of my life. So I do that kind of on the side, and I think there's some irony there that I work heavily in the substance abuse field, or at least did for a while, but at the same time I'm making whiskey and cigars, so it's a little bit of a contradiction there. But anyway, so that's the 30-second spiel on it.
Hey, how do you deal with? So, what is your theory as a pharmacist? How do you deal with prescribing or doctors prescribing medications that kind of feed into like a substance abuse or a painkiller addiction? Like, do you keep track and try to like get back with the doctors and say, hey, look, this is like too much, or how does that work? What are the kind of checks and balances or whatever?
So yes, we do now. So we started something called the Opioid Safety Initiative in the VA, which basically was looking for people or veterans in the community who are on high dose opioids, and high dose opioids now anything over 90 milligrams daily. It may be down lower than that now. So maybe it was 90 a couple of years ago. Maybe I know they were looking to target 50. So anywhere between 50 and 90 milligrams a day of an opioid, and that's considered high dose opioid. But when they started throwing these things around like candy, there were a lot of us guys and gals out there taking over 1,000 milligrams a day. So
yeah, that's a lot.
20 times what 10 to 20 times what they consider high dose now is what people were walking around on. And the bad thing about opioids is that the more you take, the more you have to take. And these things, when these medications were designed, they were studied for a period of 6 months to a year. Nobody looked at what happened to a patient who took them for 20 years. So there's a lot of us that went in and started taking them early on in their career, and they would spend 15, 20 years just basically managing their pain just to be functional, right? Not for recreational use, just to be able to come into work in the morning and do their job. But nobody ever really studied that, right? There was no clinical trial that said, hey, we're going to give this to somebody for 20 years and see what happens. And it really causes an array of issues. One, in males, it causes low testosterone. Low testosterone causes fractures. It causes weak bones, stuff like that, joint pain.
Yeah, that's Buddy's problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I could tell. I could tell with that big old beard he's got there. He's got that issue going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically they gave out medications that were given out in a way that they hadn't studied them. And as they got further and further along, they realized just from stuff that showed up in clinic that they started noticing these issues. And so they made a really strong concerted effort to get the doses down on everybody. And the worst thing you can do to somebody that's taking 1,000 milligrams of an opioid a day is tell them, we're going to cut your doses in half, and then we're eventually going to get you down to 1/10 of that. It's a fight. And I get it, because it's true. The side effects of tapering off of an opioid are real. You're not feeling good. Your pain goes up, but in the end, I think we save some lives.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to, because I always have to one up Buddy. I have to try my hardest. He does the same thing. He tries to one up me. But so he went to a little camp that he went to train people how to kill people. That's cool. Like whatever. But do you know the Marine Corps? I think he was a major or colonel at the time that negotiated Durant's release.
I do not. I can't.
Do not.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall him.
He obviously retired as a general, but I bring this up because I met him, Buddy. No big deal. All right, not just like the school, the guy that actually negotiated Durant's release. No, but he talked about how he has a couple about 7 master's degrees, and that he just continues to go to school. He continues to learn, continues to be a lifelong learner and be that. And I know when we were muted, Monica had said something about that's amazing that you went, to pharmaceutical school at your age, and just talk about that lifelong learning, if you wouldn't mind, about how important that is to continue to educate yourself, because obviously we know that with the special operations guys that Buddy tried to be for a long time, but it's just continuing to learn So, Buddy, that's actually a compliment. Like you,
getting out and continuing to pursue like great things.
But even in the military, continuing to go to schools, continuing to learn as much as you can. So, if you wouldn't mind elaborating on that a little bit, like that drive to just continue learning.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most important things in life, and I think it's a beautiful part of life. I mean, who wants to just sit down one day and go, I'm done learning. Here's where it ends. And for most of us, when we get out of the Army, we're like, 38, 39, 40-year-old people. And I used to think that was really old, but I'm 62 years old now. And I look back now and I go, man, I wish I was 40 again. And so there's so much afterwards. And really, I've got kids that are coming in on 40 years old now. And you still got 2 or 3 lifetimes ahead of you, at 40, right? So I've reinvented myself 2 or 3 times since I retired from the Army. And each one contributed something to my life that enabled me to enrich my life later on, or prepared me for something else that I did. So yeah, I strongly encourage it. I mean, there should never be a day in your life where you go, this is it, right? I mean, this is it. This is what I'm going to do forever. Should be, hey, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do it. I don't know how long I'm going to do it, but I'll do it until I don't, and then there's going to be something else. And always leaves. It gives you something to look forward to. It always gives you like, hey, I'm not going to settle for what I'm doing right now, no matter how comfortable that is, no matter how much money I'm making, no matter how good things are. There's always something around the corner, and that I think
gives you a why. It gives you a need. For something.
And it keeps you accountable, right? It keeps you accountable to yourself, right? Not only to others, but more importantly, accountable to yourself. My most recent ventures, I woke up one morning, I was sitting on an airplane after getting yelled at by a flight attendant and having to wear a mask and sitting on the runway, sweating my ass off for 3 or 4 hours, waiting for that plane to take off. I went, you know what? I'm not doing this again. I'm gonna start flying. So I went down that week and signed up for flight lessons and
Buddy's a pilot, I think. Or
Buddy's a pilot. He went to the same school the guys did at 9/11.
Is that just a special forces thing? Is that just a special forces thing? You all get licenses?
I'll tell you what, I've never been, I don't know about for you, but I know for me, that first flight where you start flying and then they're just like, here you go, take the controls. I was like, wait, what? No, this isn't, okay, I guess.
Well, and buddy, maybe
I've never been, my ass has never been more sore than when I got, and there have been some times, go ahead, Nick, where my ass has been super sore. Anywho, there's never been a time where I wasn't just from, I think I was trying to hold on to the airplane with my ass. Like we landed and I was like, good Lord, why am my butt sore?
Yeah, well, buddy,
Hey,
I'll tell you.
Sorry to interrupt, but we have a wedding here at the Coronado Hotel, and these little ladies,
and they're getting married. They're getting married.
veterans too. They're getting married.
Have an awesome show, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Who's getting married? Who's getting
So-
married?
She's inside.
So, Buddy, you didn't actually finish. So who you
No, I
got?
haven't
You have your
finished yet,
license now, or you just started?
No, I just started, but
Okay.
I've just figured out that you can't steer an airplane when it's on the taxiway without using your feet. That was the
That's
hardest
right.
part.
Yeah.
You can't.
Are you doing Cessnas also?
Like Fred Flintstone.
What's that?
Did you start off with Cessnas? Is that what you're trying? The 172?
Cessna 172.
Yeah,
172.
yeah, same one, and it's
Buddy, I flew a
it's
little
like
bit.
people using throttle and feet to get it to go left and right.
Yeah.
Apparently,
no,
Cliff
it's like,
flies too. Cliff flies too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy kept saying go left, and I was driving like a car. He goes, hey man, that's not going to help you a lot.
Yeah. The guy also yelled at me for monkey gripping the steer, like the controls. He was like, "You can
What do you mean
just
monkey
calm
gripping?
down." I was like, "Okay,
Kinda too.
a little bit."
Yeah, the guy, when we were coming in for my first landing, he kept saying my plane, my plane. Hell, I didn't know what that meant. I just held on, and he was like, "Hey, let go." I was coming in at about 1,000 foot a minute, man.
Hey, we'll pull up at the end. It's fine. It's fine.
Wait till they cut the engine off and ask you where you're gonna land.
Yeah, no, they better not ever do that to me, man.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely did. They push the throttle all the way down and go, all right. Like, wait, what?
Right,
Like,
yeah, where you
where
gonna
are
put
you
it
gonna
down at?
land? I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna land. Wherever we finish off, I guess.
Yeah.
At the crash site, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey,
But it is a
Monica's
lot
got
of
something
fun.
to say.
I'll tell you something about lifelong learning. I used my GI Bill to go to college after the Army. I went to UCLA and I did a double major in sociology and gerontology.
Hear that, buddy? Double major.
Can you spell
And-
that?
Yes. What, double?
I know you can, Monica. I know you can.
It says two, Dave.
One and one.
Double.
So
Do it.
I don't remember everything I studied,
Right.
but I can tell you that the most successfully aging people, and they judge successful aging by health and happiness, but the most successfully aging people are those who maintain social engagement and learning. They are healthier, they're happier, and they live longer, and they use medical services less often than people who are not engaged and not learning. And I'll give you an example. My dad is 80 years old. He just came back from a 5-week safari in Africa.
That's what's up.
He's a retired professor, multiple PhDs, but you're never done learning. He's taking Spanish right now at 80 because he wants to go visit Colombia next year.
Fuck it.
Wow.
You know, so it's like, you're never done. If you think you're done, then you're seriously done. Like, done with everyone if you think you're done. And you're an idiot if you think you know everything. So just keep on learning.
I think when
Keep
you're
doing it.
done overall, you start giving up. Like I remember running down our dens, and Nick could probably attest to this.
Man,
Any
you
of the
ain't
guys-
never ran down our dens.
Who was that sergeant major that was like 95? That was literally every morning running down our dens. Like
Oh,
he had
Guida.
some-
Sergeant Major Guida.
Guida.
yeah, there was a couple of them, but
Sergeant Major Guida, the
Yeah.
honorary brigade sergeant major.
No, there was a-
Brigade
yeah.
Sergeant.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
The one that
Anyhow,
used to run in the front
Yeah,
of
that
formation.
guy Dave that you forgot about.
That's who
You
you're
went,
talking
when you
about.
went to go be
there
a
was another
recruiter.
one. There was another one. I was.
Oh, you're talking about the guy that had 2 knee braces and that would run up and down.
Yes.
No, he
wasn't
was
as old
he
as
was a
Guida.
fueler.
Guido would run at the front.
I know
remember
Guido.
running at the front of formation, and then dudes would fall out, and everyone would look at them and be like, "There is a fucking 90-year-old in the front." Like, are you kidding me? Don't just take your shirt off, take your pants off, and get in the woods.
You're right. But there was another one too, and it was like, man, like that's all he's got.
Hey, who you
Keep
went
him
on a
going.
safari in Africa once, didn't you?
I was, dude, buddy, you are on the same page. I almost said that. I go, who went on a safari in Africa? One
Yeah.
time?
Also, I do have a question, for you, and I have to know: did you or did you not say this is my safety, sir? Did
Always
that
comes
really
up.
happen?
Well,
Did you hear that, buddy? It wasn't original. At least I brought up a Marine colonel that negotiated.
I gotta hear this.
Rant. But yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of my Ranger buddies, right? I already told you guys I went to Ranger school with a couple of junior NCOs from the Ranger Battalion, and saw them back when I was in Somalia. We used to hang out outside the hangar, you know, when we weren't doing anything, which was a lot of time, and just shoot the shit. And one day they said, "Hey, a lot of our guys have never had any CQB training, so can you get some of your guys to come over and help us out?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we found a couple of vacant buildings on the airfield there, and we went out and did some very basic dry fire CQB with the guys. And in the training, you know, of course, I didn't come up with this. I mean, this is something that was taught to me by somebody that was taught to from somebody else for about 300 years. I told the guys, "Hey, look, you know, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to kill somebody, right? Because weapon's got a safety on it, but this is your primary safety." I did that in training, right? And that very same day, we went into the chow hall, you know, the chow line. I'm standing in the chow line, and I had a Ranger captain come up to me and say, "Hey, you need to put your weapon on safe." And so we had a little bit different way of clearing weapons. What we used to do is clear the weapon, and then drop the hammer to take tension off the hammer spring. And once you do that, the weapon won't go back on safe until you cock it again, right? And so the way I would tell a weapon is safe, I could pick it up in the middle of the night and I can try to manipulate that safety. If I can manipulate that safety, I know the gun is cocked. I don't know if there's a round in it, but I know it's cocked, right? So now it's like, okay, is it loaded or is it not loaded? I know it's cocked, so the weapon is potentially dangerous. But if it doesn't move, then I know this weapon's not cocked, and the only way you would be able to stick a round in there is if you shoved it in from the muzzle end, and that's probably not going to happen. So anyway, I told the captain, I said, hey, look, I got it. Worry about your shit. You let me worry about my shit, and we'll go our separate ways. And
so it happened.
And then so that was it. That was the exchange. But then, of course, anybody that's spent any time around Ranger privates know that if you let one of those guys see something, that you're in for a treat, because that night they did a skit in the hangar, right? And they
that was in the movie as well. Yeah,
they did a skit, and in the skit, they did their version of what they saw at the chow hall. And of course, that captain had been was an amazing college football player. He had been on the Georgia Bulldog national championship football team, starting pulling guard for Herschel Walker when Georgia won the national championship. And he was a stud. He was like, you'd look at him and you go, man, this is like the god of war.
Dave has
But,
no clue who Herschel Walker is, Hoot. I'm just saying he doesn't.
Say that again.
So we all know who Herschel Walker is. He's a legend, but Dave doesn't know who that is.
Yeah, right. You gotta.
We were waiting for Joe to wake up and chime in, but he's on solar internet, so we don't know if it's working.
Mute your stuff, Joe. It's really loud and interrupting the podcast.
But anyways, he did have a funny joke to make about Dave. Dave was raised in Germany, so he doesn't understand football. So it actually is a really good cut on Dave, but because of his solar internet, we couldn't hear it. But yeah, Dave, you have no idea who Herschel Walker is.
He's on
Herschel
that Green
Walker,
New Deal.
Yeah, he was Green New Deal guy. But no, Herschel Walker, it was like one of the best of all time athletes.
Oh,
and
hands down.
But yeah, so you got Steele was his fullback, right?
His
Pulling guard. Pulling guard.
And and Steele was a badass. He was a physical.
Except for Samara.
Yeah, he was a hunk of man, right? And but at least physically he was a big burly dude. But anyway, somehow these young Ranger privates, I don't know where in the hell they come up with it, but they found a Cleveland Browns football helmet. And I mean, it's in Somalia, of all places. And it was one of the old ones, right? It was like the one that had like the one crossbar with the big ear holes
like
in it.
The kicker helmet.
Yeah, the kicker helmet, but it had the big the ear thing that came out around. It was just a
Dave, that's what kickers do. That they only get 1 bar. They only get 1 bar. So
yeah, but
that's for you, Joe.
They replicated that, or they did a skit, and in the skit, when the one guy said, "Hey, look, hey, put your weapon on safe," the guy goes, "Hey, this is my safety," But they combined the two events in the skit, and of course, I've been living it down now for 30 years. So, but
it actually was. It happened, yeah, to an extent.
Yeah, you mean living it up?
They took poetic license with it.
Because we know a lot of the movies in Hollywood likes to chalk some stuff up, but also reading the book of the pilot and everything, like I was obsessed with that movie and just everything. Shugart and Gordon. I mean, we got ranges named after him and like all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's always been one of my things, and it seems like a lot of it was pretty on par for the most part. Obviously, Hollywood's going to do their thing, but compared to some of the other movies like Lone Survivor, God knows what really happened in that movie. God knows what happened on that mountaintop. Like we don't know, but yeah, it's just it's some wild stuff, and the chat's blowing up. People were laughing their asses off just now when you mentioned this is my safety and how that works. So
yeah, you can attribute that to a couple of unnamed Ranger privates somewhere. They're probably now sergeant majors of the Army somewhere.
So. Right, probably.
This is my safety bourbon coming out.
No, they're not. The sergeant major of the Army is Wolfie shit.
Yeah.
Remember, we can't talk about politics, so yeah, never mind.
Hey, when is this is my safety bourbon coming out?
I'm gonna leave that to somebody else. I think I might leave that to the same dudes that came up with it. I think there's a couple of.
I think that's a shirt idea, Nick.
There you go.
If we can do it, we'd love to come up with a shirt. Yeah,
well, if we get permission,
Ego's got a pharmacy question for Hoot.
Hey, Hoot, I just wanted to.
Hey, that's Vito. Vito didn't do any combat either. He was a spiker.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
no combat at all.
Your beam was great.
Sorry, Vito. It's okay.
Yeah, but he's got that jaw.
Working.
But he has the jaw.
Pharmacist, I just wanted to get your opinion on the non-standard pharmacological modalities that like the use of ketamine and psilocybin and DMT for those patients who are polypharmacy on like multiple SSRIs and stuff like that.
This is
the
deep.
Jesus, what did you say?
What the fuck did you just say?
Usually, Vito's smarter than you. That's Vito's smarter than you.
Hey,
Take a
buddy,
drink,
you could have
Nick.
asked
Big
me
boy
that
talk.
question. I would have said, yes, I know.
Boom.
Right? Like he didn't have to do all that to prove that he's smarter than us. Vito,
I
ask
just
the
wanted to know
question,
what
an infantry
what the
question.
VA direction would be on something like that, or maybe personally your thoughts on, of course, using like cognitive
He's
therapy or behavioral therapy and stuff, but what the VA is kind of directing towards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hear that question. You said Vito?
Yeah, Vito.
Vito. So Vito, I hear that question probably used to hear it about 30 times a day. Usually it's from people that, hey man, how come you're not gonna let me smoke dope in my office? Right? But the fact of the matter is that we just don't know. I mean, I think for some patients it does help them, but it just hasn't been studied. And I'll go back. What's that?
The research for ketamine use for severe depression has seen a lot of great results, right, over the past couple of years.
Couple of years, and that's the key word, right? Couple of years. So
what's a
ketamine's
real
been
study
around for,
considered? What's the timeline on a real study considered? What, 10, 20 years? Well, I don't know.
yeah, it depends on what they're using it for, right? So let me go back to what we talked about with the opioids before. They studied opioids for pain relief because it acts on the central nervous system, but they studied in patients who were terminal, patients at their end of life, right? So it was used for cancer patients who had incurable cancer, and they were basically just trying to make their end of life as easy as possible. So absolutely, it's a painkiller for sure, right? But what happened was these guys didn't live long enough. The patients in that they studied didn't live long enough to see what the long-term effects were. They of raising that dose from 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams, to 30 milligrams to 300 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams a day. They just didn't have them around that long. So they studied them for 6 months to a year, and then they turned them loose, with opioids. It wasn't until the late 90s when they started using them for what they call chronic non-cancer pain. And so going back to Vito's question, is that, yeah, I think that when you look at the chemistry of it, there's a lot of reasons why I think it could work from a chemical standpoint. But do I want to be the guy that says, oh, everybody should use it, and then 10 years down the road find out that half my patients are killing themselves because of emotional instability? So no, I won't go out on a line and say that I support it, because I just haven't seen enough really good data on it. I mean, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just wondering if the VA's has put any thought into.
Yeah, they're looking into it, and I know the VA gets a bad rap. And I remember when I got out of the Army, people said the last thing you want to do is end up at a VA hospital. You do not want to go there. But I'm going to tell you, I have been pleasantly surprised. They have problems, and most of their problems are around access to care. But once you get in there and you see the right people, they have some of the best providers on the planet. I mean, these are not slack guys. These are people who are well educated, highly credentialed providers.
Programs in to stop the opioid.
Hey, who we got Rob. We got Rob. He always tunes in. Hey, shout out to Rob.
Awesome.
He loves our podcast. He always tunes in.
Yeah,
It's helping him get
follow
into
us, and
some
if you're
stuff.
on
But he's got a question for you. And I'm gonna let Cliff even. I don't under.
Hey, he was asking about the fentanyl pumps, the interratical pumps for fentanyl. Do you know anything about that?
So probably a patient controlled analgesia, right? So well, fentanyl's a synthetic opioid, and it's one of the more powerful opioids, right? As
a lot of people nationwide,
right? So and it has it's something that's very highly managed in a professional clinical setting, right? So the question I guess is that he's asking is, do I think it works as a painkiller? Absolutely.
What's your opinion on it? Yeah, just basically, what are your thoughts on it?
what do I think about it as an analgesic, or what do I think about it as far as a illicit substance and how it's killing people on the street?
Hey, who you can't use those words because we can't spell them.
You say not.
yeah.
You say not patient controlled. I have one. So what are your thoughts on it? Basically, is it effective? Do you think it's something good to take? You know, would you say steer away from it?
Fentanyl, I would steer away from unless I was under close care of a physician.
Yep.
Well, that's the only way you're gonna have it, right? Unless you're in a close.
Yeah,
you're
right.
getting illegal.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not sure what he's talking about. If he has it and it's prescribed,
Right.
yes, but use it as it's prescribed and
Right,
stay in touch with your physician.
Hey, Dave, tell that guy. Well, he'll hear me now, but we can't be giving medical advice out on that.
Yeah.
stuff. So
Of
it's
course
like,
not. Of course
yeah,
not.
It's
Rob-
like it's like, hey, buddy, like
Talk to your doctor.
yeah, talk to your doctor, homie. And like we always talk about on our show is that we would love for you to get off opioids as a veteran, but it doesn't mean just stop. Okay, like you might have to wean yourself off. And just like I was on Valium for years, you know, and it was like, I don't want to take this anymore. It makes me feel like absolute crap every day. Right. And then like who said earlier is like, as I kept taking it, I needed more. I needed more. And then all of a sudden I'm on 15 milligrams of Valium. That's heroin. And then, and technically I was deployable. Right. And it's like, woo, no, you're not. Like you're not on that kind of stuff. So Buddy's got to take another piss. So he's got a really weak bladder. Let's did you get up? But no, hey, let's get back to the fun stuff. Unless you have to go, because it's been an hour. But
I'm good. I'm good.
But we almost got that bottle drink.
Yeah, but again, this is what we're all about at Veteran Trash Talk. It's community. It's discussing things with each other, and coming up with solutions to a problem that maybe I don't have. Joe might not have the answer, but Hoot might have the answer. Vito might even have the answer. Vito came on and used a lot of big words. All right, I'm really excited that he did that because we always knew Vito was smarter than us. So Vito, I'm gonna punch you after this show because that was like you made us all look dumb.
Hey, not a huge deal. Vito sets up hospitals in Iraq now.
Does he? So he's seen more than you have in Iraq. Now.
Awesome.
You were in Syria. You were in Syria when you decided to become cool, buddy. All right. So the Syria stories we'll listen to. Your Iraq stories, not so much.
Yeah.
Right? But anyways, hey, give us? I'm gonna throw you in a spot here for a second. Give us a time where somebody said something to you, like in a bar or a restaurant, not knowing who you were, like a political opinion or just like a war story, where you were like, huh. Like, give us something like that where they didn't know who you were when they were saying something.
Oh, I got a lot of those, my friend.
Yeah, but, give us your best one.
My best shot at it would be when I had I don't know if you guys, if I mentioned, I worked when I got recalled back into the Army on 9/11. I was paired up with the Air Marshals for a period of time. And eventually I rolled out of the Army and became the national training coordinator for their global response team. But ran a lot of training for the Air Marshals when they did the buildup right after 9/11, along with a lot of other guys. And so had a really dear friend of mine. His name was Jim McMahon. He was on Super 6-1, which was the first helicopter to crash in Somalia with Cliff Walcott and Donovan Briley. And he survived the crash, but he was severely injured. He broke his back, and I think he had some facial damage from a 40 Mike can hitting him in the face when it crashed. But so he was with me. We were sitting there on the range one day waiting for training to start, and our students started showing up to the course. So these are people who are trying out for the Air Marshals. They're going through the Air Marshal,
like ex-fifth group guys.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, you're not gonna get but these guys were standing around in kind of a huddle, talking to each other, students. And then I was standing there with Jim, who again was the guy that was on the helicopter that crashed in Somalia, the first one. And I hear these guys talking about what they're going to do after work, and it's a Friday, and they're going, "Hey, what you guys going to do tonight?" And the guy goes, "Hey, let's go catch a movie." And the guy goes, well, what do you want to watch? And one of them said, all right, well, let's go check out Black Hawk Down. And of course, they didn't know us. We were just old part instructors on the range. And but
some guy in cargo pants.
Yeah, it perked my ears a little bit. And one of the guys goes, oh, I can't go watch that. It brings back too many bad memories.
Oh,
right. And of course, I was like, oh, now you really got me.
Then we're gonna have a conversation now.
So I just kind of Jim and I kind of edged over closer and closer to their group. And they had no idea we were listening to them. And the guy goes, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, I was on the helicopter that crashed in Somalia.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
And
fine wrong guy.
I think the guy was like mid-20s or something like that. Mid-20s or something like that. So first of all, I think he was probably like 6 years old when the helicopter crashed in Somalia. But I just looked over him and said, hey, come here, bud. I said, I want you to meet somebody. I said, you guys have a lot in common. I said, because this guy was on the helicopter that crashed in Somalia. And then they proceeded to have a conversation. So that's probably the funniest one of those.
So I have to know this. Did he come to class the next day?
I think they ended up cutting him from the class, but he was definitely a lot quieter.
That is so awesome.
The odds of like telling.
Oh my God! Yes, the odds.
At the wrong time and wrong place, and having two people that were intimately involved with that, like. You would have to. How big was the crowbar to pull his entire leg out of his mouth?
Yeah. He was him and Han. I mean, it was hilarious. But
actually, the leg went through the ass,
and
out the mouth, and then you had to like try to bring it back, and it's like that was just gonna hurt no matter which way you pull it.
Yeah. But it was.
On that note.
Yeah. Very cool.
So when they did the movie, did they obviously had some discussions with you guys? Because I mean, even This Is My Safety is kind of similar to what happened.
Were you a technical?
No, actually,
were you a technical advisor to the movie? Like, or was it just like how did that all work out?
I was actually still in active duty.
Oh, wow.
And could not advise on it. But actually, that probably came from those kids that put that skit together. So, they were like, hey, let's make sure this gets in there, right? So, but no, I was still actively serving when the movie came out.
And then if you could hit on it, maybe if not, again, it's all Shugart and Gordon, like the situation in the movie where they knew that they would, they were going to go secure the crash site, but they knew that was going to be their last crash. That's going to be it. We're letting letting them drop us down there. We're going to do our thing. Can you hit on those two a little bit briefly, if
Yeah, well, I was not at that crash site. That was 6-4, and I was at 6-1. Yeah, but
did you watch the movie, Dave? He wasn't there.
I did. I know he wasn't at that crash site, but he was involved in that entire.
Yeah. So,
that occurred,
first of all, I would say both those guys were just as good as they come. They were not only were they great operators, they were just great people. I mean, and there's a lot of guys that were operators that were assholes, but these guys were not. These guys were really, really, really wonderful men, and were well respected by everyone. And I know that there was one member of their team that didn't go to the aircraft with them because he had to jump on the chain gun. His name was Brad Halling. He would be a better guy to make account of it, but.
Right.
But by everything that I've heard in after actions reports and stuff, they went fearlessly into the breach, and gave their last measure. And I do know that while we were moving to 6-1, I heard a radio call from Schubert come across the net, and he asked, "Hey, what's your location?" And I responded, "Hey, we're about 10 mics out." And he goes, "Hurry." And
wow,
it didn't dawn on us that there was another bird down. We were headed to the other bird. Right. So I can't help but think that he was probably thinking, hey, any minute now my guys are going to show up and everything's going to be all right. And that really kind of sticks with you over the years. But they were one, for my personal knowledge of them, and I served with both of them for many, many years in C Squadron. And they were just awesome people, awesome soldiers, awesome operators, but even better human beings. They were just kind and gracious and wonderful people. And would have no telling what they would have gone on to do, because like I said, at the time we felt like we were all old, but we were in our early 30s, you know, at the time.
Right.
So it would have been wonderful to see the contributions they would make in all aspects of their life had they been able to be blessed and live as long as I have, you know. I'm sure it would have been magnificent. Just wonderful people.
Wow, thanks for hitting on that one.
Well,
hey, thanks for
That-
sharing
that- yeah.
That's gonna help save some lives for sure. Because again, we talk about it all the time. Buddy says it a lot, and again, Buddy, this is a compliment, so don't get triggered. You know, it's the fact that when you decide to put skin in the game, you decide to develop yourself, you decide to do something great, right? We see that in the military with our younger soldiers, where it's like you point at a guy and go, that guy is going to do some great stuff, right? And then boom, 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 they start doing great stuff, or you mentor them in that way to do that. And it always hits me, the people that always whine and complain the most are the ones that never put any skin in the game. They're the ones that never tried. They're the ones that never try, like they never try to be better, or they tried once and they failed.
They're victims. It's the victim mentality.
Right.
That's
Well,
literally what it is.
Right. And then we try to coach that at Veteran Trash Talk when we say that the Quit Being a Triggered Pansy shirt that we have is, it's like, you're a veteran, you speak for all of us. So either I have who speak for you, or I have the fueler from, 2017, got out 2020, talking about how they don't like fireworks blowing up in their yard. And it's like, that just hurts us. But what I was gonna get to with that was, who motivated you as a younger soldier to be greater? Was there anybody like that was like, I need to be greater?
Absolutely. No question. The finest example of a soldier I've ever known in my life. And I've known the best of my generation, but there was nobody that compared to Major Robert Lewis Howard. He was the commandant of the Q course in July of 1981 when I showed up and started getting my ass kicked. And he was the finest example of a soldier that I've ever known. And I've never, again, I've known a lot of people, and that's just taking nothing away from the badasses I've served with over my lifetime, but none of them could hold a candle to Bob Howard. He was the guy. And he kind of set the standard for others to follow in everything I did in my life after that. Because not only was he just a total badass, he was also one of the most compassionate human beings I ever knew. And I don't know if you guys probably don't know who he is, but you should Google it.
Oh, Buddy might know, because
Buddy might know who he is.
But right
I do
before he
know
got
who he
demoted-
is.
before Buddy
There's
got
some
demoted from
sections.
colonel to E4.
There's some sections of group that have been dedicated to him, and
Yeah, just
So-
Google him
Yeah,
real
but-
quick. Colonel Howard, Bob
Colonel
Howard.
Howard. We'll look that up for sure. And I bring that up, and I'm glad you shared that, because people struggle with the fact that there are veterans that didn't have a good mentor. There's a lot of veterans that did 3 years and had crap leadership.
Yeah.
Right. And they never had that guy to push them to the next spot. And Joe and I were lucky when we came in to where we had Sergeant Summers as our SOPC TAC. And that's one of the horse soldiers, Buddy, one of the real 5th group guys, right? Before you got in.
the horse soldier.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Andy Marshall is still Andy
I'm
Marshall
just saying.
the Ranges.
I'm just saying. He was a real horse soldier guy. So like, but anyways, Sergeant Summers was the most phenomenal NCO that I ever met in my life, and he had killed a lot of people in Afghanistan. And is that us? Is that us making
No, that's Joe. That's Joe.
Joe, move your back.
Joe, you need to give the gerbil on the treadmill some more.
He's
some more
muted
feet.
now. He's muted now.
Faster.
But so Monica's going after
snap,
Joe. Joe's
Monica.
gonna get triggered about it. But hey, back to the seriousness of it is, that's what I think VTT's doing, is it's giving the opportunity for people to find mentors, to find people that can put them in the right direction.
Yeah.
I was blessed. I had mentors, right? And
I would just like to go ahead and say right now, you're welcome, Nick.
Yeah. Well, Buddy was the mentor to show me what not to do to
Yeah.
make Staff Sergeant
I was
faster.
Nick's platoon sergeant for like a year.
Right. And then when Dave decided not to jump out of an airplane correctly,
You're a sergeant first. You got promoted because of me, man.
I did. So Dave jumped out of an airplane the wrong way because he didn't want to. He'll give you all the excuses in the world that he wants, but he just didn't have a proper exit. So after
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
After he
Amongst
exited,
20 other paratroopers on that flight that got really hurt.
Right,
So,
but
like,
I wasn't. I was healthy. I landed fine. I got to the Alpha. I went and killed all the enemy with my radio and my machine gun. All right, we went and did all that kind of stuff. But that's what it is. Like Dave was thrown into the seat early as well. Dave was a platoon sergeant well before he should have been a platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
So you have those things. It's like, am I ready for this? It doesn't matter. You're there, right? And so it's like,
it's ready for you.
It's ready. Yeah, it's ready for you. Go do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goes with like what Buddy was saying, and then kind of like what you were saying. Who is that? Does it matter? Does it matter why you're here? Does it matter why it's there? Does it really matter? No, doesn't. You got to go do your job.
That's what you do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
But like what I was saying was with that mentorship is I feel bad for the veterans that don't have that, because they get out and they say, well, the Army or the Navy or whatever sucked. And it was like, did the Navy suck or did your unit suck? Right. And then what did you do to find yourself in a better position? And that's where it comes down, where people get pissed off.
Well, it's an identity crisis as well, Nick. We always talk about
that's what I
that,
said.
you know?
I go, where did you find yourself in the position to change it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Spot on. Spot on.
And the only reason I'm getting on my soapbox here is because I loved what you said about Stuttgart and Gordon. Is what would they have done if they were still alive? Because they were so great. They were so awesome at their job. So those of you watching right now, and those of you who are thinking about doing dumb stuff to yourself, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about, if you tried harder, where would you be? But guess what? You're still alive. Okay? So there's still a time to try harder. Try harder. Go educate yourself. All right? You got Hoot here from Black Hawk Down. All right? It's out. All right? He killed people. Like did you know how to shoot that rifle? Like in the movie, did you know how to shoot that recoilless rifle?
Hey, I've shot some recoilless rifles before.
That's what I said. That's what I said. But did you just all of a sudden know how to do that?
No.
No.
No, you gotta endure like many hours of the back blast of a recoilless rifle to be able to enjoy it.
The 203 in the window. I don't think that was you in the movie. Is that a real thing? You know, the Rangers were shooting. And
I've seen that happen from De Los Reyes. I've seen that happen. De Los Reyes.
We have seen some 203s do some crazy stuff. You remember the practice range?
I almost got killed by one in combat in Samara that Buddy wasn't at.
Yeah.
We had the one that bounced off the wall and hit Dave in the nuts. This is a great story. So we're at a 203 range on Fort Bragg, right? And Dave's a sergeant. I'm a specialist, right? Everybody's. Dave's got tasked out. Now it makes sense because he was an E5. So it's nighttime, so he's awake. Has to run the 203 range that we're shooting 203s through a window, sponsored by Black Hawk Down, right? Because you got to shoot 203s through windows now, right? And so all of a sudden, you hear it. It's like a little whistle. It's like, right? This little whistle comes in and hits Dave right in the nuts, right? So what are they called? The practice rounds. They had that orange paint, and then the round comes back, and it hits him right in the dick.
It was
like
Florida.
right over like a stand that he's operating the targets on. Like it was a perfect shot. It's perfect, right? So it hits him right in the dick, and we all start dying. We all start laughing. Like it's out of control. And Dave's on the ground, crawling, with his hands over his nuts. And he goes, anybody below the rank of E5 better start doing fucking push-ups, right? Because we're all laughing so fucking hard. So yeah, did the 203 happen? But I know I was on a longer soapbox, but like
Hooten, did it happen? Was
Did
there
it
a scene where you guys
So-
showed the Rangers what's
because
up? And
Dave's dick has never recovered from why we did this shit. So did it actually happen?
shout out to Haley, shout out to Tyler.
Yeah,
Beautiful kids.
Well, hey, your testicles work, but not your dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the 203 in the movie. I can't recall that scene, but I do know that one of my Ranger buddies is a guy named John Bellman, and he was on the SAR team, and he got dropped in on 6-1 before the rest of us got there. So they'd been there for a while, and they had strong pointed a building just south of the crash. And as we were moving forward, we were methodically clearing buildings, approaching that crash site, still looking for it because we knew kind of where it was, but we didn't know precisely where it was at. And so we got everybody lined up, and we called out on the radio, say, hey, we're getting ready to move in on this building on the just to the north of us, making sure there's no friendlies in there, right? And we got a call from all our teams, said no, Alpha team's up, Bravo, all our teams were accounted for. So as far as we were concerned, that building was empty or hostile, and we saw some movement in it. So we thought, okay, there's bad guys in there. And so we brought our 203 guns up and our crew serves up, and we're like, okay, we're going to hammer the shit out of this building, and then we're going to assault it. So we wanted to do a simultaneous. We had about 4 203s lined up, and we wanted to hit all the windows at the same time. So we got them all lined up. So okay, you take this window, you take this window, you take this window, and you take that window, and on my execute you go. So we're 5, 4, 3, and we saw what looked like a gun light flash in the building.
Yep.
And we stopped. We said, hey, that looked like the signature of a gun light, because it wasn't a steady light. It was just kind of a flash. And we went, wow, that was weird. It's not something that we would expect out of Somalis. So we made another radio call. We said, hey, look, are we sure we don't have any friendlies in this building? Because we're getting ready to kick the shit out of it. And they said, no, we're good. You're cleared hot. And so we stood there again. We started to count 5, 4, 3, and we saw a green chem light come out of the door.
Whoa.
And I heard Ranger, Ranger, Ranger. And I looked across and I said, hey, Bellman. And he goes, yeah, is that you, Hooten? I said, yep. And that's where I finally linked up with my Ranger buddy on the streets of Somalia. But it was down to about 2 seconds from them getting the good news from a Delta squadron. So
wow.
But that did happen. We didn't.
That's a scene in the movie too. That's a scene in the movie too. I think.
But it was close. And had it not been for their gun light, when they went into that room, they cleared it. When they cleared it with a gun light, and that's what we saw the first time. And then as they moved further into the building, they got to that exit door. They opened the door up and they threw a chem light out in the threshold of the door to mark it as friendly. And had they not done that, 2 or 3 seconds later, we were going to light it up.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, again, a lot of stuff is pretty accurate from what we saw. And then this is being the last question, at least from my end. At the very end, when you guys are exfilling, getting out of the city, and then they show Hoot, he's like talking about war, he's eating some chow, you eating some chow, and then you're like, well, I'm going right back into the city because there's still men that are still there fighting after the initial push that you guys went out, and then you went right back in. Is there any correlation to anything that occurred when you were exfilling?
We did. We went initially to the Pakistani stadium, and that was when, because when you're on the battlefield and you're decisively engaged, you're worried about the 1 meter of ground you're standing on. So you're not really seeing the whole big picture. You don't know. Right. You don't know that Tent Mountain's involved in it. You don't know that you've lost another bird's crashed in the city, and you've lost 2 more that crashed back at the airfield. So all this stuff you're not aware of. You're just fighting from door to door, window to window, house to house, and it's taking it 1 meter at a time. And then when we got to the Paki Stadium, we saw the casualty collection point, and they had dead and wounded lined up out on the battlefield. I was like, holy shit, what just happened? And the boss came over and said, hey, get your gear. We got to go back in. We got another helicopter down. And I went, what are you talking about? And that's the first time that we knew that the 6-4 had gone down. We up to that.
Oh, you hadn't known the entire time until that point.
we didn't know. We didn't know until we got to the stadium, because we're not on that command net. We're on the assault net, and we're on the fire support net. So we're not talking to all the other aviators and stuff. We're just talking in our circle. And but the assaulters and the guys on the streets at Super 6-1, we didn't know until the next morning that other helicopter had gone down. And at that point, that thing was overwhelmed shortly after it crashed. I mean, I think that they say that the gunfight between Sugar and Gordon lasted no more than half an hour. So hours had passed since that had happened. And that's when they were missing. Durant was captured. We were getting a brief while we were on the helo. We got helo down. We got guys missing, and they had video footage, of course, that's famous now, of them dragging bodies through the street. That was from 6-4. And of course, now we're absolutely furious, and we're ready to basically just kill everything, grind it up, and pour salt into the earth is the attitude that we went back in with. But yeah, we didn't know until the next morning, but we moved by helo from the Packy Stadium back to the hangar and refitted for follow-on operations.
And went right back. Wow. Whew. I love this. Yeah, this is awesome stuff. I'm good, Hoot. I don't have any more questions in regards to any of that.
Yeah, hey, I mean,
It's been amazing. Like, it's just been amazing to have you on and just being able to share all that with the community and with us. I salute you, brother. Like, just amazing.
Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Stay accountable to each other, and I always like to think of it as, hey, look, I could have easily died along with my friends on October 3rd. I didn't, so I owe it to them to live my best life, right? I mean, what would they do if they could do it all over again? If they could have everything that I had, and the opportunity to raise a family and have a profession and be whatever it is you want to be, I don't know that they would waste it, right? So that's a message to all of us: is don't waste the time you're given, because it somebody doesn't have that time, and they would give anything to stand in our shoes today.
Yep.
Right. So I'm proud to have been part of your initiative here, and reach out anytime. Love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. And remember, go to Hooten Young, all right, and get their bourbon, get their cigars, get their whiskey. All right. Phenomenal. And you nailed it. And our producer in the back, he's sitting there, hour and 30 minutes. And every time we have a conversation that is awesome, it goes past an hour. And yeah, you nailed it on the head. We're here for each other, and we talk about all the time on the show. This is the recap, the AAR, if you call it. We said it on the fifth principle earlier today that if survivor's guilt is almost selfish. It's selfish to us because you're alive. All right, go do what they would have done. Go be the man that you should have been, or the woman you should have been. Go be productive, because you're here, and no, that's a great point. And we say it all the time. So you nail it on the head with that. It's just awesome. Awesome having you on. And I hope that a lot of people buy your Madu cigar. I'm going to smoke this right after the show. I got to go find a spot in California where I can. And then
You're going to love it.
Do it. I'm going to go smoke it. I was hoping I could smoke it now, but in California, they're all crazy. So
yeah, I've been smoking cigars since I was about 15. I've never had COVID. I've never had the worms. I've never had intestinal parasites. I've never had the clot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
we had to get your show out before we had to get your brand out before I got kicked off the air. So, anyways, Dave, close us out.
Actually, Mental Health Warrior over here is going to close us out because
it's a PTSD Awareness Month. June is. Mr. Hooten, I want to appreciate everything you said and what we've talked about. As a mental health warrior and being a suicide survivor, I know it's important that when you talk about things that can trigger people and how to deal with those triggers more positively. And I think sometimes just talking about it really helps a lot. And I think that's why Veterans Trash Talk has been so successful in helping veterans just to have that voice and just be able to be comfortable and be able to talk, with people about their issues and problems. And, if you're listening to the show and you enjoyed the show, or if you have a buddy or friend who's kind of been quiet this month, pick up the phone, give them a call, give them a text, just see how they're doing. Let's check on each other today. Just to make sure everybody's doing okay. Let's do a quick buddy check with everybody, just to make sure everybody's okay, because you never know what people's going through. I ran into a veteran on the street, at the hotel I'm staying at here in California, and he told me his story about PTSD and what he's gone through, and I was really appreciative of that. And Matt, if you're watching, thank you for your story, and I hope you're doing okay, brother, and you continue to heal yourself. So with that, I'll go ahead and close it out and turn it over to who's ever next.
Good to go. We're closed out. Thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor. Let's stay connected. See you guys next Saturday.